Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So today we'll be discussing about that what is actually deep learning, how it actually works, what are the fields in which you can just go after the deep learning process, what are the companies that take out the deep learning things, and basically what's the career path, what are the skills you need, each and everything regarding deep learning we'll be seeing out today. Right, so without wasting of time, let's get started here. Okay, when I talk about deep learning, so that is actually a subfield of the machine learning which is concerned by the algorithms inspired by the structure and function of the brain called artificial neural networks. Whenever we just heard about the name of deep learning, okay, whenever we just take this deep learning name, it actually, as soon as I take the name for the deep learning, we can actually see that deep learning is one of the tools or technologies which actually deals with the artificial neural networks. And what are these neural networks? These are basically these are some inspired by the structure and the functioning of the brain. So when we just talk about deep learning, so that is totally dependent, that totally works on to the functioning of your brain, okay, which is basically called as artificial neural networks, right? So deep learning is a field which actually totally deals with the neural network, totally deals with the working of the neural networks actually. Okay, other than that, what is this? Deep learning is actually a subfield of machine learning. Okay, subfield of machine learning. Now, when I just go on to that very first page where we had learned that and seen about the we had made out the circles, and there we were discussing about the artificial intelligence and even the machine learning. Now, here if I just talk about let me just take out this color and let me just take out the pen. Okay, now here basically if I just talk about the deep learning, so which are deep learning portion, so this is here the deep learning portion actually comes out. Okay, this is where, so I would just put on an arrow like this and I would just write here deep learning. Okay, so we can just call it that deep learning is a subset of machine learning actually. Okay, right. So first one we were having the artificial intelligence, and the second part we were having the machine learning. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Right. This is how you can actually remember out. Now, when I talk about a definition, so in that you must have seen I have written that it is a subfield of machine learning, right? That same thing I just showed you here, that machine learning is one of the field, and inside that we are having one subfield, and that term is actually the deep learning. So machine learning and deep learning are somewhat dealing together with each other, right? Let me now just again go to that definition only. Right, so hope is first of all got that what deep learning is. So that first of all it is subfield of machine learning, and that is totally works upon the artificial neural networks. And artificial neural networks are totally concerned with the algorithms which are inspired by the structure and the functioning of the brain. Okay, this is what the deep learning model actually is. Right, hope is first of all got out this point very much clearly. Right, now next topic. Next we'll be seeing that how the deep learning actually works. Right now here like lot of things are written, so just do not read everything onto your own. Just let me explain once that what are these things which I have written out and what are their meanings actually. Right, we'll be seeing out that how deep learning actually works out. Okay, so let's start it. So deep learning neural networks, or we can just give it a name as artificial neural networks as well. We can just say it as another name as well, that is artificial neural networks, attempts to mimic the human brain through a combination of data inputs, weights and bytes. Now, as I told that it totally works upon the human brain, right? It totally works, the whatever things you are going to apply, that will totally work upon the human brain. So what does it actually do? It tries to mimic. Mimic means copy. Okay, it tries to basically copy the human brain through a combination of. Now, what are the things that basically help it to help it to combine out that artificial neural networks? How will it? What are the things that help it to do? So that are the data inputs, the weights, and the bytes which are actually we are having here. Okay, so these elements totally work together to accurately recognize, classify, and describe objects within the data. So this is actually the use that why we just perform out the machine learning, so as to what are the elements like I have mentioned above, that were data inputs, weights and bytes. So these all the elements work together to accurately recognize, classify and describe the objects within the data. Okay, so this is how the deep learning first of all works out. So let me just revise it out once again, that deep learning neural networks or artificial neural networks attempts to mimic the human brain through a combination of data inputs, weights and the bytes. These elements work together to accurately recognize, classify and describe objects within the data. Now, deep neural network is actually having multiple layers. Okay, it actually have multiple layers onto it. So let's give it a little of glimpse regarding that multiple layers which we are having here. So, the deep neural networks consist of multiple layers of interconnected nodes, each building upon the previous layer or to refine and optimize a prediction or categorization. Now, it has multiple layers that are already mentioned, and that multiple layers are having the interconnected nodes. Okay, nodes are some points which are actually there. Fine. So that each building upon the previous layer to refine and optimize a prediction and categorize. So whatever the multiple layers are there, these all are interconnected with the nodes. Why they are? So as whatever the previous layer is to be refined and optimized, and basically it helps to optimize a prediction or categorization. Right. So the progression of computations through the network is called forward propagation. Now here we have very first term where that is forward propagation. Okay. So basically what is this forward propagation? So that is progression of computations through the network. Okay. So whenever we just deal with the progression computations with the help of a network, so that is called as forward propagation. The input and output layers of a deep neural network are called the visible layers. So the input and output layers which are there, that are called out the visible layers. The input layer is where the deep learning model ingests the data for processing, and the output layer is where the final prediction or classification is made. So input layer is basically the layer where we just put out the data for the processing. Okay, where we just put out a data model, so a deep learning model, and that takes out the data for the processing. And what's that output layer? So output layer is basically where the final prediction or the classification is actually made out. Right. So this is how the deep learning actually works, right? Hope you just got the little of glimpse regarding the deep learning, that how it actually works, right? Okay. Now we'll be seeing out that what are the deep learning skills that you should actually have. So the 5 essential concepts for to start out the deep learning is right here. Let me take the highlighter. Fine. So this is basically a little setting up your system. That is absolutely okay. If you are in the field of computer, you absolutely know out these things. So we need not to like clarify this thing a lot here. Fine, I would just highlight that. Okay, after that we are having the Python programming. So yeah, as you have seen till now, that Python programming is used each and everywhere, whatever like you are having, take it AI or take it ML or even take it deep learning as well. And when I would tell out Python, sorry, that data science, to take it data science as well, everywhere Python programming is used. So what are the concepts in the Python programming that are totally like working? So that are data types, data structures, looping constructs, and the pandas library. Okay, so these are some important topics for the like Python programming, and yeah, essential concepts which you should have a good knowledge of. And okay, in the first one, when I was dealing about the setting environments, in that basically you should know about the basic commands and the Git. Okay, even you have just heard about the Git, one of the tools which we are having. So yeah, you should have the proper knowledge of that particular thing. Okay. After that, when we are having some mathematical tools, and that are actually linear algebra and calculus. So in that the topics are scalars, vectors, and matrices, and derivatives, partial derivatives, and the chain rule. These are some important as essential concepts for to start out the deep learning. And then we have the topic that is statistics and probability, and at last we have the ML concepts, right? That is like deep learning is subfield of machine learning. So absolutely, at some point machine learning tools will actually be used out here. Right. So, okay, in the statistics and probability, we will having is descriptive statistics and probability, random variable, and probability distribution. Okay, these are the parts for the probability. And when I talk about the machine learning concepts, the types of learning, evaluation of matrices and validation techniques, gradient descent, linear models, underfitting, overfitting, Bayes variance, sklearner, these are some important, very important, I would just say, topics for the machine learning concepts into the field of deep learning. Right, hope it just got out this everything. That's what you actually need to master out here. Let me shift a little bit here. Fine. Now let's see what are the applications for the deep learning. So these are some applications of the deep learning: self-driving cars, automatic handwriting generation, pixel restoration, and then we have colorization of black and white images, deep dreaming. We have detection of growth delays in children, demographic prediction, sound addition to silent forms. We have news aggregation and automatic machine translation. These are all like many of these you are actually already familiar with. Self-driving cars, we all have heard out the name for, right? Automatic handwriting generation, we had even heard out. We had heard out colorization of black and white images, right? And okay, maybe pixel restoration is not too much like familiar with you. After that, we have sound addition to silent forms, right? We have news aggregations, we have automatic machine translation. So these are all the things which are actually some fascinating applications of deep learning, I would actually say. It's not that only these are the applications, but yeah, these are some interesting and fascinating deep learning applications which we actually have out. Okay, after that, basically, what are the career paths? So career path is you can just go on to the healthcare, you can go for industrials, industrials and energy, commerce side, auto tech, enterprise, fintech and insurance. Then you have sales, you have human resources, you have legal tech, agriculture, cyber security, ad and marketing. Wherever you just want to go out, you can go out with the help of this deep learning. Okay, these are all the fields where you can just apply for the deep learning things, right? And now, what are the job opportunities? So, job opportunities are you can go for a software engineer, research analyst, data scientist, data engineer, neuroinformatician, and bioinformatician, image recognition, software developer, research scientist, research fellow, instructor for deep learning, applied scientist, full stack web developer for deep learning, lead manager deep learning, and natural language processor engineer. Right, so these are some like career opportunities which you can even try out after going into the field of the deep learning. Right, so hope you are now very much familiar. What are the things I just told out? You are very much okay. First of all, you just got to know about that what is actually the deep learning, right? What is actually that and how it actually deals with. After that, what is the like how this deep learning actually works out. After that, we had seen about the essential concepts to start of the deep learning. Then we had seen about the applications, and after that, we had seen the career. And at last, we had seen out that what are the job opportunities after going into the field of deep learning, right? So hope you are very much clear with all of these topics which we have like seen today, and in the next video we are going to see about the data science, right? So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.